The flickering red and blue lights cast eerie shadows over the empty highway as Jordan Carter pulled his car to the side, gripping the steering wheel with tense fingers. His pulse raced, though he had done nothing wrong. He knew how these situations often played out. A towering figure approached, boots crunching against the asphalt. Officer Richard Gaines, a name that sent shivers through the black community of Crestwood. Stories of his abuse of power, his habit of fabricating evidence and intimidating innocent people, were whispered like warnings between friends. License and registration, Gaines demanded, tapping his flashlight against the window. Jordan kept his expression calm as he handed over the documents. "Did I do something wrong, officer?" A smirk curled across Gaines' lips. "Step out of the car." Jordan hesitated. "Why? I haven't." Before he could finish, Gaines yanked the door open and dragged him out. The rough slam against the hood knocked the breath from his lungs. "You're under arrest," Gaines sneered. "Possession of stolen property and resisting an officer." Jordan's eyes widened. "That's a lie. You planted." "Shut it." Gaines shoved him into the back of the squad car. As they sped toward the station, Jordan exhaled slowly. They thought he was just another nobody, but they had no idea who they had just crossed. Back at the station, Officer Gaines pulled out his phone. "We got another one," he muttered. "Should be an easy conviction." On the other end, Judge Franklin Holloway chuckled. "Good. Let's make sure this one disappears." Days later, Jordan sat in a packed courtroom, his wrists bound in cuffs. Judge Holloway peered down at him, his expression impassive. The entire proceeding felt like a scripted performance. The prosecution presented evidence, a stolen watch allegedly found in Jordan's car. No real proof, just Gaines' word against his. "This is a clear case of racial profiling," his attorney, Lisa Matthews, argued. "Officer Gaines has a documented history of misconduct. The evidence is fabricated." Judge Holloway sighed dramatically. "Let's keep emotions out of this, Ms. Matthews. The law is the law." Jordan clenched his fists. They weren't even pretending to be fair. Gaines took the stand, lying with the ease of a seasoned con artist. "The stolen watch was in plain sight. When I approached, he got aggressive. I had no choice but to arrest him." Jordan stared at him, sickened by how effortless the lies rolled off his tongue. The verdict came fast. "Guilty," Judge Holloway declared. 5 years. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Jordan didn't flinch. Instead, he smirked. Holloway's brow furrowed. "Something amusing, Mr. Carter?" Jordan leaned forward. "You should have done your homework before pulling this stunt." The judge shifted. "And who exactly are you?" Jordan's smirk widened. "You'll find out soon enough." As the guards led him away, he whispered to Lisa, "Make the call." By midnight, the news exploded. Jordan Carter wasn't just another citizen. He was the son of Congressman Nathaniel Carter, a man with deep political influence and a relentless stance against corruption. By dawn, FBI agents arrived in Crestwood. They raided the police department, seized files, combed through body cam footage, and gathered internal reports. Within hours, Officer Gaines was arrested. Handcuffed and sweating, he screamed, "This is a mistake." But it wasn't. The investigation uncovered a long-running conspiracy. Judge Holloway and Gaines had systematically framed innocent black men, falsifying evidence and profiting from wrongful convictions. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed Jordan. "Mr. Carter, how do you feel about today's outcome?" one journalist asked. Jordan looked into the cameras. "Justice isn't about power. It's about truth. And today, the truth won." But the story wasn't over. The deeper they dug, the more rot they found. Hundreds of forged case files. Families devastated by wrongful sentences. The corruption went beyond just Holloway and Gaines. Then came the biggest shock. The state governor was involved. Bribes flowed from the highest offices, silencing those who questioned the system. A month later, Judge Holloway stood in a courtroom, this time as the defendant. Shackled, humiliated, his crimes exposed to the world. "You exploited your power," the new judge declared. "Now, you'll spend the next 20 years behind bars." Holloway turned, his face twisted with rage. "You ruined me." Jordan chuckled. "No, you did that to yourself." "Officer Gaines? A life sentence." His history of framing innocent people sealed his fate as more victims came forward. And the governor? Forced to resign in disgrace. The system had failed so many. But this time, justice fought back. Jordan walked out a free man, but he wasn't done. He founded an organization to fight wrongful convictions, ensuring no one else would suffer as he nearly had. Months later, his phone rang. "Mr. Carter, there's another case you need to see. A man, just like you, framed for something he didn't do." Jordan took a deep breath. "Send me everything." As he grabbed his coat, he murmured under his breath, "They messed with the wrong guy." Jordan Carter stood at the edge of the courthouse steps, his gaze fixed on the sea of reporters, flashing cameras, and the hopeful eyes of families who had suffered at the hands of a corrupt system. The truth had won today, but the victory felt bittersweet. For every name cleared, there were still hundreds, maybe thousands of innocent people trapped in prison cells, victims of a system designed to bury them. As he walked toward his car, his phone buzzed. It was Lisa Matthews. "The FBI found more files," she said, her voice laced with exhaustion. "This isn't over. The corruption ran deeper than we thought. More judges, more officers, an entire network built on injustice." Jordan exhaled, gripping the phone tightly. "Then we keep going." The case that had nearly destroyed him had become the catalyst for something much bigger. The nation had watched as Crestwood's so-called justice system crumbled under the weight of its own lies. Public outrage surged. People who had once accepted the system's verdicts without question were now demanding accountability. Protesters filled city streets, calling for reforms. Politicians who had turned a blind eye to these injustices were now scrambling to distance themselves from the scandal. And at the center of it all was Jordan, no longer just a businessman, but a symbol of resistance against a broken system. His next move was clear. With the support of his father, Congressman Nathaniel Carter, he launched the Carter Foundation for Justice, a nationwide initiative dedicated to fighting wrongful convictions, providing legal aid to those falsely accused, and holding corrupt officials accountable. Within weeks, the foundation's hotline was flooded with calls, families begging for help, desperate voices recounting stories eerily similar to his own. Then came the letter, a single envelope slipped under his office door. Inside was an old case file, a man convicted of murder over a decade ago. No evidence, no motive, just the testimony of a now disgraced officer tied to the same network of corruption. Jordan knew what this meant. He turned to Lisa, holding up the file. "This is our next fight." She nodded. "Are you sure you're ready for this? The deeper we go, the more dangerous it gets." Jordan smiled, determination burning in his eyes. "They already tried to bury me once. I'm still here." He had been just another name in their system, another victim they thought would disappear quietly. But they had underestimated him. And now, he was the one they feared. Because justice wasn't just about clearing his own name. It was about tearing down the entire corrupt machine that had destroyed so many lives. As he stepped out of his office, he whispered the same words that had ignited his fight for the truth. They messed with the wrong guy. And this time, he was making sure they never got the chance to do it again.